This is Papa Smurf. You're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, with ODB and the mayor.
You're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, brought to you by Custom Car Show Productions, which includes Orange Beach Invasion, Scraping the Coast, Sicknick, and Slamber Party. Make sure you search on Facebook Scraping the Coast Show on Instagram. Also, Sparkles Detail. Tim and Tanya, ODB and the mayor sent you. We out here.
This is another story about dogs. For the dog that don't pee on trees is a bitch. So says Snoop Dogg. So get your pooper scooper, cause the niggas talking shit.
I'm sipping on Tanqueray with my mind on my money and my mouth full of ganja. R-A-T to the motherfucking E. Back with my nigga S&OOP.
Yo, it's Our Lifestyle, the podcast, episode 98, Doggystyle. You guys are going to hear all about that craziness. But first, this episode is brought to you by Orange Beach Invasion, which is in Orange Beach, Alabama. And that's next March 15th through the 17th. That's spring break weekend for the Alabama Gulf Coast. And oh, by the way, title sponsor Sparkles Detail. Make sure you follow Orange Beach Invasion on Instagram. But first, I should say, we got Biggity Mike, the mayor. He's always going hard, even after dark. What's going down?
Yo, ODB, what is up? It seems like it's been forever. Airhead Nation, so good to be on here with you guys. And, hey, sorry we missed out on Friday. Dude, it's a little crazy up in here. Jay's a little busy. I'm a little busy. But, dude, we're going to pull it down. We're going to bust this one out, and we're going to bust another one out right around the corner for you guys. Don't worry.
You know it. And that's what it came down to. We are essentially going to take a little bit of time for the holidays. You know, last weekend was a busy weekend. We'll talk about it. This episode also really want to hit. I hinted several weeks back that Snoop Dogg's classic album Doggystyle is turning 25 on my birthday. I wish I was turning 25, Miggity Mike. And it's November 23rd. So we want to, we rolled in with the classic intro there. So we'll talk all about the album. I've got that all ready for after Biggity Mike the mayor and I lay this down. But Mike, I want to roll in first, man, and really kind of set the record straight. You know, I know you did a good job. You were very clear before. But, maybe not everybody is listening to the podcast, and they should be. I want to be clear that, like, After Dark is the new Mike Murray show. And we don't want anyone to get that confused with the long-running Doing It in the Dark, which is now going to be in April. But kind of tell us some of the latest updates and maybe some of the things going through your mind, brother.
No, After Dark is my show. It is mine and my new team's show. I say new team, but it's all my friends and my family. And we've come together and we're going to do our own show. And it's called After Dark. And, I got people that are like, oh, it's a knockoff this, knockoff that. Hey, y'all can think what you want to think. It's all good. If you guys watch Big Brother, then you would know where I got the name After Dark from. You'd know where I got the logo from. But it's all good. I'm not going to explain anything. Don't have to explain anything. That's the name of our new show. And you guys should come out, and definitely it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. And we got Sparkles Detail. We got Stingray Chevrolet is going to be our title sponsors. I just got done talking to Max Dooley over at Lowrider Depot. I got Felt Him Fab on board. Just got done talking to him yesterday. I got tons of sponsors. I mean, of course, OLP is going to be there all set up. Excuse me. Sorry, Jay. I got it's so funny. Go out on my own. And I got all these guys that, Mike, whatever you want to do, whatever you are going to do, we want to be a part of. So it was really easy, and I appreciate that. And I want to thank all those guys that made it easy on me. And basically, I didn't even have to ask. They pretty much called me and asked me and pretty much told me, whatever you do, we want to be a part of it. Tony over at TTP, he got mad at me because I didn't even include him on the first flyer. Guys, that was just the first flyer. and it's a busy time of year right now. And that's pretty much all those guys that reached out to me. And I will be reaching out to more people and be getting more sponsors and more vendors on board. Don't worry. But it's definitely a busy time of year. But we do got a lot of good guys. Hammered, Ron over there reaching out to me. Got Casey over at Modified Automotive Wear reaching out to me, wanting to be a part of this. And they might not be there, but they're going to be a part of it somehow, some way. And so I definitely appreciate all you guys doing that. And yes, Doing in the Dark is a mini madness show. Always has been. Slamfest is a mini madness show. Always has been. I was just fortunate enough to be the face of it for those 8 years and in control. So now I'm no longer a part of mini madness, and I have nothing to do with Slamfest. Have nothing to do with Doing in the Dark. So I'm doing my own thing now.
I hear you, man. You keep laying it down. He really doesn't really want to talk about the real name, but I told you guys recently he's a big 90210 fan, and they had the Peach Pit, and they had the Peach Pit After Dark. And, Mike is kind of paying, kind of tipping the cap, if you will, to the to his 90s man crush. But, hey, I've got nothing to do with that, Mike.
No, but Brian Austin Green will be there. It's a little darker version of Brian Austin Green because Kevin's son's going to be there tearing it up as the DJ. But Brian Austin Green will be there. The Peach Pit will be lit, and it's going to be on fire. That's all I can say. Yeah,
brother, that's good shit, man. Well, I also want to say to our friends in Mini Madness, they have, if I remember correctly, they did announce the dates, and I'm trying to go off the top of my head. I believe it's April 16th, if I remember correctly. So, Graham has continued to, and I'm, I got to be saying this date wrong, so I apologize because April 16th, that's not going to work. That's in the middle of the week, but we'll get the information. We're going to have Graham on. We also, we made the deal. We will be out there, so we'll be slinging some merchandise. But most importantly, what we do is we bring the scene to everyone here. So visually, audibly, and that's what we'll be doing out there at Quaker Steak and Lube, all the fine people. So I think it's important, though, too, Mike, obviously with the thing that kind of went down, people, they part ways all the time, whether it be, Steve Jobs, he left Apple, right, and he came back years later, and, football players, they'll leave, Brett Favre left the Packers, and it kind of was maybe not that so nice of an ending, and then they kind of make up, right, time heals a lot, but what I think is the utmost importance is when people want to cause drama, hey, you're a man, you kind of said earlier, hey, I don't need to explain myself, you kind of moved on. You weren't doing anything out of negativity, and you got people out there that have been in the scene even longer than us that, they want to make these little comments and, oh, you screwed up, Mike, there's another event going on in fucking Buffalo or wherever the hell it's at, and it's no disrespect. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, we did a cruise this past weekend that was very successful in my mind. We had some Lincoln guys come out, first annual Tampa Kennedy cruise, and someone could say, well, hey, there was a cruise, over in Orlando or whatever. I mean, you got to get out, you got to put your flag in the ground at some point and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, and, not all the dates are always going to align. There's always going to be some mishaps or whatnot, but I think what's important is don't go on social media. Don't be negative. Don't try to stir up something or make something a problem that's really not. And that's what we continue to see from some people. And those people just need to be steamrolled. And, we just need to say, listen, we're in the fucking fast lane. You guys, get over on the shoulder because we're going to grass pass your ass if we have to.
No, brother, it's all good. And Doing in the Dark is April 13th. It's that Saturday, April 13th. Thank you. No, absolutely. And like you said, hey, no foul, no harm, brother. But, like I said earlier, it is what it is. And, After Dark is going down February 16th, and it's going to be a damn good time. And I appreciate all the sponsors that have jumped on board and said, whatever you're doing, Mike, we want to be a part of. So I appreciate that and look forward to putting on a damn good show for everybody that comes out and supports.
That's it. And when we get Biggity Mike to break it down later, in this year, early in 2019, what we're going to do is kind of do the famous Ali G. I'm going to go through and tell you everything that's illegal, like the drones and the burnouts and the loud stereos. And then at the end, Mike can say, yep, everything else is legal, as the Ali G once said. So that's how we're going to break it down, Mike. Good shit, though. So I mentioned the cruise. I was happy, kind of got, as we moved through the year, I didn't promote it as much, and I wanted to do more. We were going to do some artwork, and just, things get busy, and my work has been real crazy. I think hopefully that'll slow down here a lot real soon. But, the homie Tony Boss Bolin came through. We touched base with our good friend Chris Dunn at Lincoln Land, and, he brought out a couple guys. Tom Bennett, salute to him from South Florida, Negative Camber, longtime member. I've over the years kind of really became friends with him. Obviously with the Lincoln, we had the opportunity to shoot it, which Beth and Rich ran it for the All Time Low magazine cover, which was fantastic. So, he left early in the morning. They had their daughter with his, I think, the family there. He came up with his lovely wife, and we really had a great time. The weather was beautiful, as Miggity Mike the Mayor will always tell you. November time period is awesome. And we even had Richard from Simplistic Fab. We had another homie that was a little younger. He had a 90s style Lincoln. So Vic came out rolling the Cutlass. You had a few guys in air. You had a few guys stock. It was a lot of fun. And I'd encourage anyone to get out there and cruise. I mean, we were breaking some necks that day. Of course, we're rolling in the Lincolns, and people were like, oh, damn, look at this. But we're going to do it bigger and better next year. And we're also in the works to finalize the OLP stuff. So we're going to do OLP Day sometime in January, and really looking forward to Mike just getting out and bringing people together instead of getting on phones and internet and Facebook and just bringing people down. Fuck that.
That's what I'm talking about, brother. It's all about bringing the scene together, brother, and going out and putting on new shows, putting on events that getting people out and about and hanging out, man. That's what it's all about.
That is. And then Tony had told me about, which we had planned to go on Sunday. There's the famous Lake Park, and it's often referred to as, I think, Tampa BMX. So we pull up there in his Lincoln. We've got a couple bikes on the back, slap hands with a couple people he knows. I met a few new guys. We're getting ready to leave, and some older guy, probably in his late 40s, kind of comes by and he goes, oh, and he looks at Tony and he goes, man, if you like freestyle bikes, he goes, I've got some I'll sell. So we end up going over there, met him later in the evening at a storage unit. It turns out, now not all in this storage unit, actually where this guy lives, he has somewhat close to 500 bikes. And he starts talking about all these bikes, how much, how many he's built. And Mike, he is so out of space. Tell me this is not gangster, dude, OCD. He literally will build like these new old stock bikes. I mean, some of them are thousands of dollars. He'll build them all NOS or new old stock parts. Then he breaks them all apart, meticulously wraps them, puts them in a bike box, labels them, and he's got a place that he stores the bikes, dude. All in fucking boxes, man. Like crazy. And I was like, dude.
Sounds like somebody I know.
No, I'm not that crazy. So I told this guy, I go, bro, you need to have a museum. And he goes, well, listen. He goes, you guys been listening to me talk. You guys think I have a crazy collection. He's like, he named some guy in Texas somewhere. He's like, dude, this guy has a museum. And he's like, the guy respects my collection, but he's like, dude, this guy's collection is unreal. And I go, well, what would you value your collection at? Like 100, 200 grand? He's like, dude, $500,000. I was like, holy shit. I was like, well, here's my intel. I'd love for you to come on the podcast sometime and talk about it. He also started the BMX bike track here in Tampa, and he races. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But, Mike, this was crazy. I didn't tell you this. He goes, well, towards the end, and we were talking about Lincolns, and we're getting ready to pull out of there, and he goes, yeah. He goes, I know a guy named Chris Lopez. I was like, dude, no way. Well, Jimmy bagged Chris's 61 back in the day before Jimmy had, opened the business that he has now. And Chris Lopez, I've mentioned this back in the day, he was like tied to Mini Madness a little bit. He had some friends in the club. But he was the guy that got me involved in mini trucking because he's the guy that had the Mitsu, cruising around. I saw it, fell in love with mini trucks, the whole, school bus thing, driving around, seeing him. And boom, dude, I'm like, there's no fucking way. And he goes, yeah, he's still got the Lincoln, never brings it out. It's all built real nice. So we're going to try to sync up with him and get him to come out next time.
Hell yeah.
So it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But
Well, tell us a little bit about the spots that you guys hit, because I know I've seen quite a few of the pictures, and there were some pretty cool pics of the buildings and whatnot. Where were some of y'all stops?
well, we started at the Lincoln Center West Shore, which was a perfect spot, right? So we pull up. The homie John on Instagram, I think he's Grassy Knoll 61. He has a couple Instagrams, but he's got a nice green 61. He was the first one there. So we pull in there. We hang out about 45 minutes. Tony sets up a big photo shoot right in front of the Lincoln sign. Before you know it, get the photos. We're like, hey, let's get out of here. So we cruise down Kennedy, which obviously is named after John F. Kennedy. And we hit a couple different spots. There's like a little nightclub, little bar type place down there in South Tampa called the Kennedy. So we kind of pulled in there. We rolled up to University of Tampa, which is a beautiful campus, obviously landmark in Tampa. Drove through the brick roads there, parked under the big oak trees, checked out the JFK statue for those that hadn't seen it. Then we left from there, and we kind of went downtown right in front of the Tampa Theater. And it's kind of another brick road, and we shut the whole road down. People were like, oh, damn, look at all these Lincolns. And we stayed there about 15 minutes. And then one of the guy, Eric, his wife, said, well, hey, you guys keep talking about the Columbia. Let me call there. So she calls, which, we're guys. We don't plan. And she gets us a table. They're like, hey, it'll be ready in about an hour and a half. So then we cruised from there. Down a couple streets, there's a famous building on the side of it is called the Postcard, and it says Tampa, and it looks like one of the old postcards, right, with the artwork and certain landmarks from the Tampa Bay area. So we were there for a little bit, and really the plan was to go down Bayshore all the way to Ballast Point, but by the time, we met at 11, and then 1:30 comes around, everybody's starving. So we cruised in there. Then the homie Tim from Surreal Customs, he came through. He met us over at Columbia. So we had 2 tables for, 22, 24 people. And, man, it was awesome, dude. So we were able to do all that. We cruised through Ybor, of course, heading down to the Columbia. People breaking necks. Everybody was out and about. Beautiful day. So all in all, it was really good. And I think next time we're going to do a little bit more cruising, but we'll plan the lunchtime a little bit better.
Absolutely, brother. Like you said, guys don't plan, so the ladies need to make sure they can take care of those guys and get them some food and get them in a restaurant.
Hells to the yeah, brother. Well, Mike, transitioning into some podcast updates, we've got the re-up going on of the pre-order, and that's in full effect for Minis on the Rise. We've got the other colors out there, so you've seen the posts. You've heard us talk about it on the last episode. Get out there and place an order. And Mike, I know something that you were kind of cooking up. Tell us a little bit about what we've got going on for this Friday on my birthday, 11/23.
Yes, it is ODB's birthday, so make sure all you Airhead Nation, y'all go out, y'all text him. I'll give y'all later on, his phone number will pop up. So text them, Facebook message, Instagram. Just make sure, Airhead Nation, y'all let ODB know that it's his born on date, because he never says happy birthday. It's happy born on date. And so make sure you guys just reach out, let ODB know that we all love Mr. ODB and wish him happy birthday.
Hey, man, you're too funny. Well,
on Friday. And of course, on Friday is also Black Friday, and come Black Friday, we got a little special code that if you go to our website and check out all the items we have on our website, and we also have a pre-order that ODB was just talking about, and all of our other swag that we have on there. Type in the code OLP BF 2018. And you're going to get 20% off your order. So OLP BF 2018, and you're going to get 20% off. And of course, that's going to be Black Friday only.
Hells to the yeah, brother. And Mike, he and Mrs. Mayor and Little Mayor, they were kind of stewing around some ideas, and they came up with that. And we said, we're finally kind of in the merchandising game with having some products available. And by nature of the retail business, it's like, okay, boom, you got to do something. So Black Friday it is. Mike gave the code out. You use that, and it kind of helps quote unquote bury the shipping a little bit. You're going to get the shirts with the 20% off code. I think the $20 shirts, if I do my math right, it'll be like $4 off. So get out there, get you some hats, get you some of the older shirts, some of the pre-orders. They are included. So that's going to help us, and we appreciate the support there.
Oh, absolutely, brother.
Well, next up, a couple of really cool things that came out of such a devastating issue. I talked about the wildfires recently. It's been horrible. We've seen people lose everything. I saw an interview this morning on the news, and it was a guy that came back, and his house, he goes, man, that's where my bed was at. This is, he was talking about a motorcycle that was like his one joy. He said, man, everything I've worked for my whole life is gone. It is very sad. It's very devastating. And one good thing that I thought that I saw that came out of it, obviously we don't want people to get hurt. We don't want, people to lose their possessions, and that's what we were seeing all this tough, shit going on. Well, on Instagram, I saw a guy, Boneless Chicken 27, posted an image of, I think the guy's name is _Pandra, Pandra. And remember, Mike and I never talk about, pray for trucks, pray for the chrome plating shop, pray for the owner's parts, pray for my truck and the hurricane. All that shit's off limits. But what was cool is this person, I think it was the Pandra, he was using his truck to go in and out to take people out of these areas where the fires were just horrible. And the truck, and the homie Jason Redden, I know that he posted it as well. But when you see the photo, and we'll post it up with some of the audio from this episode, the truck is white, and you see it where there's like the burn marks on it. So what I thought was amazing is Toyota chimed in, and I think this was a comment on Instagram. Toyota USA said, we are humbled you'd risk your life and Toyota Tundra to drive people to safety. Don't worry about your truck. We're honored to get you a new one. And dude, it had 137 likes, and that was at a 3-hour period. The Pandra, he comments, he was like, dude, no words. Like, just blown away. And I was like, I love when companies do that because, one, it's kind of like, hey, it's great PR for them, right? But, I mean, literally, it's a great story. I mean, this guy was literally taking people out of harm's way. And this person that had posted it said, here's my Toyota USA commercial. The truck literally saved my life today. My little town of Paradise was literally burning around me, and the Pandra got me to safety where I could help others twice. And, dude, Mike, stuff like that, man, makes you kind of reaffirm that, man, there are some good companies, some good people, and here we are. We're talking about Toyota USA, so big ups to them.
Dude, that is freaking awesome, and I wish more companies would do stuff like that, because when they do stuff like that, people see that, and I know in my eyes, that makes me want to go buy a damn Toyota, just because they're supporting people that are going out and putting their lives on the line and doing things like that to help others. And they didn't sit back and no, I'm just worried about me not going out there and trying to risk my life to go save somebody. They're out there doing it. And props to Toyota for helping the guy out.
Yeah, and in the 80s, it used to be, you love what you do for me, and they had the people jumping up in the air. I never knew how they could jump that high. But seriously, man, Toyota, they did it up, and I'll share that post. I think it kind of was trending recently, and I've got nothing but positiveness, like Mike said there, man. So really good stuff. Thanks, Boneless Chicken 27, for posting it. The Pandra with an underscore between the and Pandra. So thanks, Toyota USA, for that. Mike, we also have our friends Rich and Beth Waterbin over at All Time Low Magazine, atlmagazine.com. Pre-order that calendar, and you've seen all those recent images they've been posting. Damn, I tell you what, dude, you don't need a Playboy calendar or a Sports Illustrated calendar when you've got the All Time Low Magazine calendar, Mike.
And dude, I'm freaking excited because it's going to have all the shows for the coming of 2019 coming up. They're all going to be in this calendar. And dude, there's some of our good friends, badass vehicles that are going to be spotlighted at in the All Time Low calendar. And hey, don't forget, we're going to have Rich on. He's got a big announcement to make. Didn't make it on this one, but he's definitely going to be on the next podcast to talk about that that big announcement. But guys, definitely reach out if you haven't done it yet. Get the calendar. I remember seeing Vanilla Ice in there, Sean Randall. I remember seeing Dave with his C10 in there. I just seen today we got Chris Smith from Relax Canada in there with his badass Isuzu. What was it? Matt Daly with his badass Nissan. So, guys, there's some badass trucks in here. You're definitely not going to be disappointed. I know I probably left some people out there, but those are some that I remember seeing. So definitely reach out and get yourself that 2019 calendar. And I promise, because I know I talked to Rich, you're going to have these things before 2019. So they're going to be good Christmas stocking stuffers, ladies. They're going to love them.
Yeah, man. And hey, I know you guys want that Chick-fil-A calendar, but damn, that all-time low magazine is on point. It's got Minty Fresh in there, Dustin Jones. It's got the homegirl, Christina Ceremi, still doing the thing. Like Snoop and Dre were back in the day. She's holding it down for February, Caddy Queen. And then you've got the super sick Boys Look is a Killer 90 Toyota Hilux owned by Shinya Khan. And that's from, I think, Japan there, obviously. But really badass shit. I can't wait to see because they've only released 7 of the months. I think it's also going to be a 13-month calendar, so it's going to include December. And as you mentioned, the homie Relaxed _Chris with a K. Dude, he's got a straight Isuzu on the rise. That red with the sick-ass interior, clean bed. Dude, man, when I come up, I want to ride in that damn thing. So big ups to the homie Chris. He's been supporting us. He's been on down at Downtime, I think, a couple years back. So great stuff there. And then, Mike, we can't forget the big homie, Riggedy, Ron Perkins in the house always. If you go on HammerD weekendwear.com, that will land you on the site. And what you want to do is pre-order those badass shirts, including Big Brown. You cannot go wrong with the apparel, especially with a pre-order, because you save the $5. So make sure you do that. Hover over shop, go to tees, and then don't forget he's got the hammered Hardbodies. This includes the Doing It Big Nissan and Patrick Rios repping from Severed Cali. Used to be Severed in the LBC on Instagram. He's, I think, recently updated that, but he's a good dude, badass truck. And also, last thing, don't forget the GWYG, the Get What You Get for $10. Hey, who doesn't like to roll the dice, Mike? You order that, throw that on your order, and you will be on the rise.
That's what I'm talking about. And guys, make sure y'all check out. Just posted up some pictures of our boy ODB wearing the Minis on the Rise t-shirt. So make sure you guys check it out. We got another pre-order coming up with the Minis on the Rise t-shirts. And don't forget, Black Friday, put in that little coupon code, save 20%. It's for 24 hours only, guys.
24 hours only. Well, the last few things, want to thank Jamie Starling and all the homies down in Australia. I know they probably get sick of hearing me say down under, but ECC Compound East Coast Cruise was a huge hit. We thank them so much for all the support. We did a deal with them. They had stickers in the goodie bags. They gave us a huge shout out at one of the dinners they mentioned Jamie did, and they continue to do it. We've had, I think, 4 guests on from Australia. We've got another big name, real great, humbled guy, Jamie Starling, that we will have on. We've got a lot to talk about with him once he gets back from the cruise and gets a little bit settled in there. So we're looking forward to that. And Mike, I mean, I tell you what, the Packers, they're on the downfall from Thursday night game, so they couldn't have lost on Sunday because they lost on Thursday, you know? So, hey, I don't know if you want to mention anything about the Buccaneers, but I guess they almost made a comeback.
Brother, like our boy Mexican said it best, it's a fucking dumpster fire. Dude, they're basically going to clean house at the end of the year, so it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I know Mexican and my white ass is still going to watch it on Sunday, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And, hey, Mike McCarthy, he's on the chopping block, so you never know, man. He has a championship there, but damn, dude, these guys, the Pack, are struggling. Anybody but the Patriots at this point, y'all. Anybody but the Patriots. And the Cowboys. Fuck the Cowboys.
Hey, I tell you what, tonight is the game to watch. But I tell you what, watch out for those Saints, because who the heck going to beat those Saints? Those boys are on fire right now.
Gosh, dude, they had an ass fucking lashing, dude. I looked at the scores earlier today. I was like, holy shit. Damn, those guys are on the rise. But, man, you know, Mike, it's great. I tell you what, if everybody hangs in there, you're going to hear me. I got called up. 97, great year. 98, another one. Do the hip-hop in review. But I spend a good amount of time talking about the Snoop Doggystyle, some facts you may not have known, go through each track list, and it was a damn good time. So, you know, Mike, that's kind of where we're at. We are going to hit the Airhead Nation with another episode. We're going to miss Friday this week. It's my 40th. Like Eminem said, I'm going to hit my 40s like a fucking alcoholic, dude. So I got to be safe there over the weekend. And then I do apologize. There's one more thing that I want to hit on, and then we'll roll out. I want to remind everyone to Google or go on StreetTrucksMag.com. So Chris Hamilton is really, really good people. And when you go to StreetTrucksMag.com, I mentioned you have towards the middle top right, I should say, the truck of the year. The choice is yours. Vote now. Please go out there. You can vote one time per email address. And once you vote, save the little round image there and post it up. Tag us to let us know that you heard it here. Tag Street Trucks. They are going to announce the winners shortly after the new year. You have until the end of the year. So at midnight Pacific Standard Time, I think it is. So it's midnight on the 31st to vote. Phil Built, the big homie up there in Canada, he is doing the trophies. You have best classes are Best of Truck 2018, Best Mini Truck, Mini's on the rise, of course, Best SUV, Best Lifted, Builder of the Year, Best Event. They're all getting trophies. They're also going to do a few other things online too, but those are kind of the main ones. So, you know, support Chris Hamilton and the whole movement that they're doing there. The product is unreal. The C10 Builder's Guide is continuing to be on the rise. And we're hoping we're going to be able to do a few things with Street Trucks, and we're excited about it. But I tell you what, Mike, good people supporting a good scene, and you can't go wrong when you stomp out the negativity in this whole thing of Oz.
And that's what it's all about, brother. Well, dude, I definitely look forward to hanging out with you, celebrating your birthday, your born on day this weekend. So I look forward to seeing you. But, dude, Airhead Nation, thanks again for the support, reaching out, the comments, the messages, sharing all your pictures. And, dude, our Aussie friends killed it over there, and I look forward to going through all those pictures that they just posted up on the Airhead Nation group page. So if you haven't seen that yet, Jay, they just posted a whole bunch of them. So definitely go and check those out. And but Jay, with that being said, Airhead Nation,
enjoy Thanksgiving. We are cheer. Peace.
hopping like a rabbit.
Yo, it's ODB, and as we continue episode 98, Doggystyle, paying homage to the classic hip-hop album by Snoop Dogg, among many other names, including Snoop D-O-double-G. Had to pay homage to this one, so I'll go through, do the Doggystyle overview, released on my birthday in 1993. That's November 23rd, this coming Friday. You got it. So we'll run through that, and then I'll do a high-level overview of the hip-hop years in review with 9-7 and 9-8 to get caught up there. So, damn, Doggystyle, if you're from my genre in terms of, well, my age group, then you know this album, of course. You know all the hits. It was a debut album, highly anticipated. They used to, in those days, say, you know, this is the most anticipated album of the year. And sure enough, it was, coming off the success of The Chronic, and then, of course, Snoop on that 187 track that was on the deep cover, which I thought was ironic. Just this week, Snoop posted a photo. It was a tape cassette photo that he took, or someone took, of the deep cover soundtrack. But he also mentioned humble beginnings, and that's right. You know, Dre put them on. And, of course, this album was no exception. I mean, it's a straight banger from beginning to end. Now, we opened the show with one of my favorite tracks from that, and that's the G-Funk intro, about 2 minutes and 24 seconds. Real hot track that gets the album going. When you look at the track list, you look at the production, it's really a flawless album, in my opinion. It's my favorite Snoop album of all time. There's been rumors over the years that he was going to make a Doggystyle 2, and sometimes when you have an album this flawless, you kind of say, man, do you really want to go back and mess it up at all? So I'll go through the track listings here and then give you some fun facts that you may not have known about this album. So the first track is the little skit, Bathtub, written by Calvin Broadus, a.k.a. Snoop Dogg. And you got G-Funk intro. We talked about that with George Clinton, Dre, and Lady of Rage. She really comes out spitting right at the beginning there, and I tell you what, she is a great MC. She's still around. I follow her on Instagram, and she's had a pretty prolific career with a lot of damn good verses. Gin and Juice, track number 3, featuring Diggity Daz Dillinger and David Ruffin Jr. Classic track. That was the second single from the album. Everyone knows that. Rolling down the street, smoking Indo, sipping on gin and juice. Then you got W Balls. This featured Nancy Fletcher, Malia Franklin, and Ricky Harris, who I think has passed away, so rest in peace, Ricky Harris, the comedian. The Shiznit, another great track, one of my favorites on the album. And then you've got track number 6, Domino intro. It's Domino, motherfucker. You got Lottie Dottie, Nancy Fletcher in that one. We Likes to Potty. Then you got Murder Was the Case, featuring Snoop. That later came in, or excuse me, featuring Daz. That later was made into the mini movie. Of course, you got the remix, which I like even a little bit better. And man, just a good track, track 8, real famous song there. Then you've got Serial Killer. Another one of my go-to tracks on this album. You got DOC, RBX, and the Dog Pound. And then Bootsy Collins was also credited with a writer on that track. The first single is track 10, Who Am I? What's My Motherfucking Name? Snoop Dogg. And you guys know that one. That single was the first to drop. And really, it was smart because it kind of reinforced Snoop, who he was in the whole hip-hop scene. And it, you know, many of you probably remember, I remember watching the video for, you know, in the very beginning, maybe the first time, and you've got the dogs running, and of course, they had the great, you know, spin off of, you know, Snoop Dogg, then you had the Dog Pound, so the video was cool, how there was the morphine, that was like such a big thing in that day. I remember in one of the Michael Jackson videos that, you know, they could morph someone into someone else, imagine that, right, and Michael Jackson. But in all seriousness, Really good video, great sounding track. You know, if you're having a house party, I mean, even today, 25 years later, that track, this whole album really stands the test of time. For all my and bitches, I won't say the other word, that was track 11, The Dog Pound and Lady of Rage. And then, damn, man, this is a damn good party track, Ain't No Fun If the Homies Can't Have None, featuring Nate, Warren, Nancy Fletcher, and Corrupt. Track 13 was Chronic Relief Intro. Then you had the third single from the album, It's a Doggy Dog World, Crazy Mixed Up World. That had, of course, Dog Pound, Nancy Fletcher, and the Dramatics. Real good video. Again, good times back in those days. And I think this one is one that, when it first came out, I didn't like it as much. And then that one grew on me over time, and I do love the track. Then you got track 15, Classroom Intro. That's performed by Shad Moss. And if I remember correctly, I think it's Bow Wow that says at the end, I want to be a motherfucking gangster, you better ask somebody. So he was still rolling, or he was rolling with Snoop back then. He also is, I think, the little child that's in the Gin and Juice video at the beginning. G's and Hustlers, track 16, featuring Nancy Fletcher. Track 17, Checkin'. Track 18, G's Up, Hose Down, featuring Hug. And then Pump Pump, featuring Little Malik. So we'll talk more about those. Hands down, whether you've got this, a physical copy, or you stream it, I think it's on both Apple Music and Spotify. It's a damn good album. And we named this episode Doggystyle for that reason. You know, 25 years later, it has stood the test of time. When I bought this album, however old I was, convinced someone to get it for me or take me to the mall to get it, it was one that I listened to at the time. I didn't even have like a boombox. I just had like a portable CD player that I had bought for my neighbor. And I think we bought it for like $45 or whatever, because those things were kind of expensive back in the day. And I put those little cheap headphones on and, you know, hit the little eject thing, and it would pop up the top. You take the CD out and you put it on the little spindle thing and close it and hit play, and that thing starts spinning, and just go through and listen one after another. The album is sequenced great. It's got an awesome flow to it. And I think last I was reading in 2015, it had sold, I think, like 7 million albums in the U.S. and maybe 4 million outside the U.S. So like over 11 million albums sold. It really reinforces how good, like really that it's a classic. Some of the notes on the album, G's Up, Hose Down was omitted on all but the original pressings, and that was due to sample and clearance issues. On the original release's back cover, it's listed after Pump Pump instead of immediately before it. That always threw me off. I was like, wait, this is mixed up. How would they make that error? And they did. The original pressings of the album, which contain G's Up, Hose Down, it also lists W Balls separately on the album's artwork. They also include an erroneous final listing for the THA Next Episode, a track not included on this album. So more to come on that. Later pressings of the album, which remove G's Up, Hose Down, they do not list either of the tracks on the album, although W Balls is featured. So, cut tracks. G's Up, Hose Down featuring Hug. That was omitted, as I mentioned, on all but the original pressings due to that sample and clearance issue. My copy has that on there, and that's one of my favorite songs. So, if you're looking, or you're collecting, or you're looking to get the OG one, I looked years ago on eBay. I don't know what the prices are now, but I'm sure that one's going to continue to get harder to find. Especially, shit, man, I don't have it on vinyl. I'd love to have that. The Next Episode, featuring Dr. Dre, listed on the track listing provided to retailers before the album's release, does not feature any pressings on the album. Now, the instrumental was later used on Warren G's track Runnin' With No Brakes from Regulate the G-Funk era. Now, the pair later recorded, as many of you know, a track titled The Next Episode That appears on Dr. Dre's second studio album, 2001, which is completely different from the original. So pretty cool stuff there. And I had just recently posted a little fun fact the day that Chronic 2001 dropped. I had read this, years and years ago, but many of us knew that Suge Knight, the asshole that he was, and I guess still continues to potentially be. I'm not going to, talk shit about the guys in prison, but he had caught wind that Dre was going to release an album in November 99, and he was going to call it the Chronic 2000. It's the upcoming year. It was the millennium, I should say, and it was like, boom, Chronic 2000. You had the Chronic 8 years later, boom, 7, 8 years later, and Suge leapfrogged them, and then they released on Death Row the Chronic 2000, and then so what do you do in whatever 99 November 99? You go, well, shit, we'll release the Chronic 2001, and there you go. So check this out, running, like I always say, no brakes, dog, running with no brakes.
Yeah. If you want it, I got it. You need it, baby. Yeah, it's Warren G. Yeah,
I've always liked that track, and that Warren G album is a classic in my opinion. I think many believe the same. If you haven't watched G-Funk yet on YouTube Originals, go out there. I think you get 30 days free. I talked about it before. Definitely check it out. Warren G kind of got schlepped to the side with Suge Knight and the whole Death Row deal. But he did emerge and really, in my opinion, came out ahead because, he signed the Def Jam. And many, if you watch different interviews, he really did help to unbury Def Jam because they were in financial ruins at the time, and because of the success, they were able to go on and sign other artists and so on, and the rest is history. But a damn good track there. I think it's the last track, 12 on that album. Now, Doggystyle featuring Jewel and George Clinton, that was recorded during the album sessions, remaining unreleased until its inclusion on the compilation album Death Row, The Lost Sessions Volume 1. The Root of All Evil outro featuring Tina Marie, that was recorded during the album sessions, remaining unreleased until its inclusion in the compilation album Death Row, The Lost Sessions Volume 1. The instrumental was later used on the remix of California Love by Tupac and, of course, Dre. And then Every Single Day featuring Corrupt, Jewel, Nate Dogg, that was recorded during the album sessions, remaining unreleased until an alternate version was released on the Dog Pound compilation. That was in 2002. So there you have it. Maybe you didn't know some things about that. Maybe you remember flipping that album cover over and seeing Snoop there with the little joint in his mouth and getting a little confused by some of the track listings. Where hell, maybe some of those songs, you're like, man, I thought that track was on there. Well, it was, it was one of the last tracks, and boom, it's gone. So there's some cool facts. Definitely check out some of the other unreleased ones, or the joints that I mentioned that showed up on Death Row, the Lost Sessions. Pretty cool shit there. A lot of history. And the last thing I'll say on this, earlier, I think on Instagram, earlier in the week, Tupac, the official Instagram account, had mentioned they're 4 days away, and there's like a little teaser, and it says 1998. So I'm kind of curious if there's going to be more music that's released. I talked about the litigation, the long-term litigation that finally came to an end, and now the family owns the rights to the music. So we'll kind of see where that goes, but looking forward to it. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in the vaults, whether it be the Dre stuff, the Daz Dillinger, Tupac. I mean, lots of stuff we've never heard. There's a lot of good stuff that's leaked over the years on YouTube. So if you're interested, definitely go out there, check it out. There's a couple of good YouTube channels. There's a few that turned up on B-sides, like I mentioned here with the Lost Sessions Volume 1. But, man, it's out there. A lot of it is. And there's some good music, even though it was never released. So, good shit. Now, what I'm going to do now is This is brought to you by the homies, including Rich and Beth Waterman over at All Time Low Magazine. Make sure you visit atlmagazine.com, pre-order the calendar, and then also make sure you sign up for the magazine. Also order some gear, and they will appreciate that. So what I'd like to do now is hit on 1997 hip-hop year in review, and then I'll stroll into 98. So 97 was a damn good year. You had on the 14th of 97, Rhyme and Reason, the original motion soundtrack. This was like basically a kind of documentary style hip-hop movie that came out. You've got some definitely good tracks on this one, and one of the better known tracks is the first one, which is Nothing But the Cavi Hit. That was Mac 10, so Mac 10 and the Dog Pound. There's also a real good MC8 song on this album as well. So good stuff. I think it's on there. Yeah, Represent. So good album there. Then on a couple weeks later, you had Camp Low, Uptown Saturday Night. If you've never listened to Camp Low, that's Camp and then L-O. This is a really a badass album. I think it has a big cult following. It was just under an hour in length, and it was released, as I mentioned, late January that year on Profile Records. The album spawned hit singles, Lucchini, a.k.a. This Is It, and my buddy John had it, and I kind of fell in love with the album. It's got a track, Coolie High, several good tracks. I really like the album, and it's one you want to check out. Same day, you had West Coast Bad Boys 2. So this was under the No Limit imprint with Priority. This was the third West Coast Bad Boy compilation released by No Limit, and it had a lot of it's kind of a mix between the West Coast, obviously, and Master P's, the clicks there in Louisiana. For many, they thought, Master P was from the West, but you've got, Sibo, Brother Lynch Hung, All From the Eye, Rappin' Forte, The Comrades, Mac Dre, Selsky, Get Low Playas, MC8 with Paper Chasin', The Delinquents, See Murders on there. When you look at the album cover, you got the dub thrown up. I think it's all in diamonds, like an encrusted chain. But it's a real good compilation that dropped then. You had Funkmaster Flex, the mixtape volume 2. I think I mentioned the first one recently. I think the significance of this album is you essentially had these street mixtape albums that started to come to the mainstream. And a lot of the tracks on here are freestyles, really short, exhibits on there, Lost Boys, Boot Camp Click, Akinelli, a lot of good guys. But this one I didn't like as much as the first one, but it's it's pretty solid. It's the mixtape volume 2, 60 Minutes of Funk. Okay, you had the Loonies, Bootlegs and B-Sides. This only had 6 tracks on it, and it had Scandalous featuring Sugar T, and then Drew Downs on that one as well. So any Loonies fans out there, you guys know that one. So you had a group, Master P's group, True, TRU, their album dropped on February 18th, 97, True to the Game. What I always thought was interesting here was you had a double disc album. So it was re-released later on, but the first disc had 13 tracks that ends with Heaven for a Gangsta, the True remix. And then you had the disc 2, which ended with Final Ride. Very solid album. I always remember this one in the Best Buy ads because it was always like $7.99, $8.99. It was a double disc. I'm like, man, why is it so cheap? But man, Master P, as I mentioned, he was making a lot of money, and that production on the album is really good. It was certified 2 times platinum. So March 25th, many of you know this date, I went down to the record store, and not only did I buy Life After Death, which was Biggie's second and final album, real album. Then you also had Warren G, Take a Look Over Your Shoulder. So Life After Death, that was, as I mentioned, the second album from Biggie. This one gives me goosebumps listening to it, obviously right after his death. And it was like the same craziness. You had Pac died, however many months before, and then you have the king of New York, he passes away. He gets murdered, I should say. So the first disc, you've got the 12 tracks, starts with Life After Death intro, and then I Got a Story to Tell. And then you have disc 2 it starts off with a famous track, Notorious Thugs with Bone Thugs and Harmony, and it ends with I think it was the interview where Biggie speaks. It was kind of like a hidden track. But track 12 on that was You're Nobody Till Somebody Kills You. And when you listen to it today and you kind of see what's going through his mind, and you had the East Coast, West Coast beef, there's a lot of little innuendos on this album, something that you probably never even really kind of picked up on. I should really kind of cover this for the 25th anniversary of that album. I mean, it's that classic. It debuted at number 1, and it is certified diamond, so I think 10 million plus sales. Now, Warren G hit us with the second, and although I had all the praise for the first album, the second album didn't resonate as well with the fan base. I liked the track I Shot the Sheriff. There was an EPMD remix. There's a track, What's Love Got to Do With It remix. I own the album. As I mentioned, I bought it on that day. Solid production, but, to me, his first album was hard to touch, and that's what we see from a lot of different artists. April 8th, you had Big Mike, Still Serious. That was his second album. And, of course, he's got he's on Rap a lot at the time, and he was with the Ghetto Boys, so he was tied in there, a solid album. KRS-One, I Got Next. I bought this one at Circuit City, and this one has Step Into a World, Rapture's Delight remix. That's a bonus track. Track 19, Sean Puffy Combs and Stevie J produced it. Classic. I think it's one of his biggest, KRS-One's biggest hits ever. Classic shit. So in the summer, that was right after I graduated, Wu-Tang Clan drops Wu-Tang Forever on June 3rd. And this album is just hands down so badass. I don't think anybody could talk shit about this album. So many good Wu-Tang albums, but this one really is one that resonates so well with me. You got the RZA True Master, Fourth Disciple for the production on disc 2. And then I think on disc 1 was about the same, except for Inspected Deck. He produced Visions, which was track 5 on that first one. Damn good album, certified classic. I had brand new vinyl that I had bought, never even played it. That was part of my original collection. And over the years, I kind of started selling some off. But that is a classic, whether you've got it on CD or you've got the vinyl. Artwork is great. Album production's awesome. You had the Lost Boys in the summer as well. This one sold over 500,000 copies. And this was Love, Peace, and Nappiness. I think the songs that you may know from there are going to be Me and My Crazy World. This was a solid album, again, from the Lost Boys up in New York. That was on June 17th. You had Craig Mack, Operation Get Down, the second album. Again, didn't resonate as well as his first one. I picked this album up when it came out, and, it's just an album. You got Twista, Adrenaline Rush. If you've never listened to this one, 13 tracks of badassness, you definitely got to check it out. Adrenaline Rush, track 2 is one of my favorites on there. The Lady of Rage. So this one took a little while. Necessary Roughness. I think it was one of those where she kind of got caught up with all the other albums that were coming out. She's got her Afro Puffs on, of course, on the cover. And you guys know that track from the Above the Rim soundtrack. This one features Snoop Dogg on Rough, Rugged, and Raw with Daz on track 9. And it's an awesome West Coast album. It was produced, of course, by Suge Knight, executive produced. Daz Dillinger, Superfly, DJ Premier, Easy Mo B, Kenny Parker, a lot of big names. And this was Rage had left Death Row to join Snoop's label, Doggystyle Records. That was her last, that would be the last Death Row album distributed by Interscope. Okay, you had Missy Elliott, Super Duper Fly, so a real popular album here, and 17 tracks on it. And I think the biggest track that came out was The Rain, Super Duper Fly. that had the really famous kind of visuals and the different colors and things like that, and that kicked off a pretty storied career there. July 22nd, you had Puff Daddy and Family, No Way Out. So I kind of call it a compilation album here that was on Bad Boy. You've got 17 tracks, including Mace, Foxy Brown, Genuine, of course, Notorious B.I.G., Jay-Z on the album. You kind of basically got a chance to hear a little bit more from Biggie, some unreleased stuff. One of the famous tracks on here is track 10. It's all about the Benjamins, featuring the Locks and Notorious B.I.G. One of my favorite lines in there is "Fuck the state pen, fuck hoes from Penn State." Badass shit. And Maddie knows that line really well because she went to Penn State a while. So when I first met her, I pulled that one out, and she's like, "Wait, what?" And I said, no, I'm just trying to be a rapper, So July 29th, Bone Thugs and Harmony, The Art of War. This was their third studio album, and the album sold almost 400,000 the first week. Another classic album. You've got all the original members from Bone on it, and then you also have Tupac. So don't forget Thug Love on the disc 2 featured Tupac, and I like how they called the first disc World War I, and then the second disc was World War II. It's got also 3 6 Mafia and then Mo Thug's Family on this album. Suave House Records, the album of the year. So if you guys, especially in Houston, you guys know Suave House. You had Killa Ami, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. So this one's more of an underground type album, but believe it or not, those guys are still around making some badass music, and one of the guys just released an album. So Wu-Tang heads know that one. All right, so you had Coolio, you had My Soul. This was, I think, his third studio album. Again, didn't resonate as well. Had 40 Thieves on that one. Those were his boys. You had the Alcoholics on the same day, August 26th. That was Liquidation. So they were often, referred to themselves as the Liquid Crew, Likwik, I think it was, or Liquid. And they're a West Coast group. I mentioned them recently. Another solid album. And I think LL Cool J's on that one. Exhibit, he's boys with them, with Tash and the Alcoholics. So September 2nd, this is a huge album, very underrated. I'd say by today's standards, you think back and you might forget about this one. But Master P, Ghetto D. Even though the artwork was cheesy and it was the plastic, you'd open it and it just was always the advertisements for the other No Limit records, man, this album slams from beginning to end. Track 1, Ghetto D, all the way to track 19, Bourbons and Lacs, which I used that one, I think, recently when Christina Ceremi came on. Man, this album's good. We go back, I listen to it from here and there. Track 3 is a great Rest in Peace song, I Miss My Homies, that had Pimp C, Silk the Shocker, Moby Dick, and Odell. Damn good album. Definitely go back and check it out. If you've never heard it, man, you are straight slipping. September 16th, you had The Grave Diggers featuring RZA. This was the horrorcore group. You got the pick, the sickle, and the shovel. So I like the album. Many of you probably never heard it. I think it is streaming in the U.S. on Spotify. Mac 10, based on a true story on the same day. This was his second album. A couple notables on this one. You got Backyard Boogie. You got the Comrades on this one. The Guppies featuring Ice Cube. And then you got Only in California, Ice Cube and Snoop D-O-double-G on track 13. Okay, Busta Rhymes, September 23rd, When Disaster Strikes. EPMD, Back in Business. That was the same day. MC Breed, Flatline, also the same day. September 30th, Common, One Day, It'll All Make Sense. Then October 14th, you had LL Cool J, Phenomenon. I didn't really like the lead single, Something Like a Phenomenon, but hey, it's LL, and he's one of the greatest of all time. October 21st, you had The Firm, the album. This was the first and only studio album by that supergroup, The Firm. Of course, Dr. Dre was the executive producer. You had track masters on it as well. Album is very tightly produced. Of course, if Dre's on it, he had his production over, Phone Tap. Of course, he's featured on that. Your Phone Tap, What You Gonna Do? You go back and you listen to it. It's good, but for whatever reason, the critics didn't really pick up on it. And it is what it is. But you had Nas, Foxy Brown, AZ, and Nature. And they were all successful, for the most part in their own. I don't think Nature was as successful, but that is one there for the collectors out there, or, the guys that like those different, peeps in the group. Okay, you had Little John and the East Side Boys, October 21st, Get Crunk, Who You Wit, the album. Salt and Peppa, same day, brand new. You had the Loonies, October 28th, with Lunatic Music. Jay-Z, In My Lifetime, Volume 1. That came out there on November 4th. Another classic album from Jay-Z. One of my favorite songs on there is The City Is Mine, and that featured Glenn Frey's sample, I think it was. Classic track. You had Rakim, the 18th Letter. Obviously, 18th Letter is R for Rakim. And this was actually his debut solo album as an MC. Rakim, typically he was with Eric B. And the album features DJ Clark Kent, Pete Rock, Father Shahid, and some others in terms of the production on it. 3 6 Mafia Chapter 2 World Domination, also on November 4th. You had Last Man Standing by one of my favorite West Coast MCs, MC8, that featured Be Real on The Way We Run It, and then Hit the Floor, which is one of my favorites on there, featuring Diggity Daz Dillinger. Mystical on November 11th, Unpredictable. A solid album here. Again, No Limit. They couldn't really do anything wrong at the time. You had BG, It's All on You, same date. Fifth Ward Boys, Usual Suspects. So all of our fine friends out there in Houston, Texas, representing H-Town, they know all about the Fifth Ward Boys. DFC, The Whole World's Rotten. That was on November 25th. Will Smith, Big Willie Style, the same day. And then Tupac, Are You Still Down, in parentheses, Remember Me. That was the 6th studio album by Tupac, and it was the first to be finished without his creative input. Really good album. 2 discs, so you will continue to see the theme of double discs. One of the popular songs on there is I Wonder If Heaven's Got a Ghetto, the hip-hop version. And, of course, you got Johnny J produced Ready for Whatever. Johnny J was one of his boys, man, and they made a lot of good music. He was a great producer. Okay, let's round out this year with Eminem, the Slim Shady EP. So this one had 10 tracks, and it was the debut extended play by Eminem through the Detroit-based record label Web Entertainment. Now, unlike Infinite, his first album, Slim Shady EP helped Eminem gain the interest of Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre, who subsequently signed him, and then they took some of this music and then some of what Dre and M put together, and then they produced, that put out really the this, I think it was called the Slim Shady LP. So that was really kind of his first album. And then 8-Ball and MJG, that was on December 23rd, Lyrics of a Pimp. But December 16th, Ice Cube hit us with featuring Ice Cube. Oftentimes he'd hit us in the fourth quarter, as he is this year, with a new album. And this one was a compilation of a lot of tracks that appeared on different albums. I think there was one unreleased track on it, Bend a Corner With Me with Short Cop. But you had Natural Born Killers with Dre. You had Game Over with Scarface, Dre, and Too Short from The Untouchable. You had the track Trespass with Ice-T that was on that Trespass soundtrack. So really, really good stuff from Cube. Great year, man. You look back in 97, I know, I hit a good bit of albums, but they were damn good. So we're going to roll into 1998, and this one is brought to you by Riggedy Ron Perkins over at HammerDWeekendWear. You want to visit HammerDWeekendWear.com and pre-order the new shirts. Also pick up some new gear for stocking stuffers for the holidays. So in 98, January 13th, you had the Locks, Money, Power, and Respect. Great album. The title track, Money, Power, Respect, featuring DMX and Lil' Kim, that one still bangs today. You had Above the Law, Legends on February 16th. You had Scarface, My Homies, that was on March 3rd. This was a double disc album, and a couple of the famous tracks on here are one, I love this track, Homies and Thugs, the remix featuring Master P, also Tupac is on it, and if you really listen to it clearly, you can kind of tell that, Tupac must have been like at a party or something, and someone had a recorder and he did a freestyle, and that's what they used in that track. So, really good album. There's another one, F Faces, featuring Too Short, Tila, and Devin the Dude. He's always on point. Okay, you had Killah Priest, Heavy Mental, and this album, I actually have some unpeeled stickers from the original album artwork on this one. Really good album. Of course, he's tied into the Woo. Track 15, Bible, that appeared on Jizz's album, Liquid Swords. Really, really good, deep track there. See Murder, Life or Death, March 17th. You had Capadonna, March 24th. He was always considered the 10th member of the Wu-Tang, and I think he's really technically a member now. And he's, good MC. I bought that album also when it came out. Daz Effects, same day, Generation Effects. You had Hieroglyphics, Third Eye Vision. That was their first studio album by that group, Hieroglyphics. You had Do or Die come back, you had Daz Dillinger, March 31st, Retaliation, Revenge, and Get Back. That was his solo studio album, and that was on Death Row Priority label. 17 tracks, really hard-hitting album that's got Corrupt, Superfly, Trey D, Badass, Technique, Be Legit. I mean, a lot of guys that he's still down with to this day. Gangstar, Moment of Truth, great album. You've got JFK to LAX, and then track 5, one of my favorites, Above the Clouds with Inspected Deck. Truly a phenomenal album and track. Okay, Do or Die. Okay, now into April 7th, you had Heads or Tails. You got Johnny P all over this one, and they reprised for another version of Po Pimpin'. This one is still Po Pimpin'. Great Chicago-based hip-hop group, Do or Die. You had Goody Mob, Still Standing. Man, this album is damn good. It really is. If you haven't listened, go check it out. One of the tracks you've got to listen to every time the weather gets, it starts really getting a little cool out. Not too cold in Florida, but you know what I mean. Track 2, Black Ice, Sky High, featuring Outkast. Both Andre 3000 and Big Boy deliver one of the sickest verses on that track, man. It is really that good. Soulja Mischief hit us on April 20th. Imagine that, April 20th, Focus. You had Big Daddy Kane hit us with Veterans Day on April 28th. Dub C, The Shadiest One, that was his debut solo album. The album was certified gold, and it featured Too Short, Ice Cube, E40, Daz Dillinger, CJ Mack, several long-time West Coast legends, and it is a damn good album. Dub C is still doing it out there, C-walking like a motherfucker. Okay, you had DMX, It's Dark and Hot. It's Dark and Hell and Hot, and that was on May 12th. Streets is Watching, also the same day. That was the soundtrack for the film of the same name that was put out by Rockefeller. Okay, AZ hit us with Pieces of a Man. That was the second studio album from AZ. And RZA produced Whatever Happened, The Birth, and that featured RZA as well. Nas is on How You Livin', a good track there. Okay, you had DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Greatest Hits, May 19th. You had Snoop Dogg, Smokefest Underground. This was an independent album released by Snoop Dogg back in '98. It was recorded with several label mates after Snoop Dogg had left Death Row. It's got the usual suspects, if you will, with Snoop's camp. Okay, you had Too Short, Nationwide, Independence Day. I want to say this is after he moved to Atlanta for a while. It was a double disc. It didn't really strike me too well back then. I mean, I haven't listened to it in a long time, but Too Short, he is a legend. 8 Ball, also on the same day, May 19th. That was with Lost. You had Master P, MP, De Last Don. That was on June 2nd. And then Onyx hit us with another one, Shut 'Em Down. Devin the Dude on June 16th releases his solo debut album. It's classic with 17 tracks. And, of course, he's sitting on the toilet reading the Houston Chronicle. Devin, he's still out there doing the same shit. Zero on the same day, Look What You Did to Me. You also have MC Ren hits us with his third album, Ruthless for Life. He continued the theme with kind of a shorter album overall. It's like 50 minutes. But Ice Cube's on Coming After You and The Chill. And Snoop and RBX are on it. Solid album from MC Ren, the villain. Okay, Nori hit us, as did Cain and Abel. That was on July 7th. Beastie Boys' Hello Nasty was July 14th. You had Nate Dogg, G-Funk Classic Volume 1 and Volume 2. So many of you probably didn't go through, listen to this album. It sparked a couple singles. I know I have the CD single for Never Leave Me Alone featuring Snoop and Val Young. And Nobody Does It Better, which is probably one of my top 5 favorite tracks of all time, featuring Warren G. They always connected for classic tracks, and Regulate wasn't the only one. Nobody Does It Better, featuring Warren G, is still on point. You can listen to that track every day. Okay, Wu-Tang Clan hit us with The Swarm. This one was, I think, 16 tracks, and you had production from Inspector Deck, RZA, Mathematics, and Remedy, a couple others. This one was more of, I'd say, a compilation album. Snoop Dogg, The Game Is to Be Sold, Not Told. That was his third studio album, and this was notably on No Limit Records. This was after his departure from Death Row. This one probably isn't everyone's favorite. Still a G Thing was on it, track 10, as were several others, including Woof, which featured 2 No Limit artists, Fiend and Mystical. Master P's on Snoop World as well, the first one. I liked his other album on that label much better. E40, Element of Surprise on August 11th. You had Funkmaster Flex, Volume 3 came out on the same date. You had Kid Rock on August 18th, Devil Without a Cause. That was his 4th studio album, believe it or not. And he was pretty much on a rampage around this time. Now, Fuck Off is track 12, and that's featuring Eminem, but that does not appear on the clean version. So for you Kid Rock fans, you already know that. If you're an Eminem fan, you may not have realized it. Boom, he is on there. 2 of the Detroit natives. Okay, you had Lauryn Hill, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill on August 25th, as did Exhibit. He came and hit us with a heater, which was 40 Days and 40 Nights. That was his second album. He continues to get better as an MC, but this is a really, really good album for those Exhibit fans out there. He'd later hook up with Dr. Dre, which I think might have been one of his next couple albums, which was just classic. I've been pumping that one recently. You had Fat Joe, Don Cartagena. That was September 1st. You had Digital Underground, always crazy titles. Who Got the Gravy? That was on September 8th. You had Big Timers, How You Love That Volume 2 on September 22nd. Flip Mode Squad, same day with Imperial. Jay-Z hit us with Volume 2, The Hard Knock Life. Outkast on the same day as Jay-Z there, September 29th. You had Aquemini, Aquemini. Another classic album. You guys know this one. Hopefully, if you don't, go back and check it out. You also had the same day A Tribe Called Quest, The Love Movement. That was their 5th studio album, another beloved album by many, including Tribe Called Quest fans. October 6th, you had a ton of albums. You had Busy Bone, Heaven's Movie, Cypress Hill 4, Corruption, Mac 10, The Recipe, classic one here. And this one featured track 5, Get Your Ride On, with an unreleased Eazy-E verse and MC8 on that track. You had PM Dawn and Prime Suspects, and then you had Twista and the Speed Knock Mobsters, his homeboys, Mob Stability. That 14 tracks, another good album there. Okay, as we move into the fourth quarter of 98, you had Vanilla Ice, Hard to Swallow. This was his 3rd album, and yeah, it got weirder from the second one that I recently mentioned. Definitely weird shit there. You had Bushwick Bill, No Surrender, No Retreat. That was October 27th. We had Juvenile hit us with 400 Degrees. You probably know this album. You had Ha, which was track 2, and Back That Ass Up with Manny Fresh and Lil Wayne. That was track 13. Yuck Mouth hit us with Thugged Out. That was also on November 3rd. You had DJ Quick, Rhymalism, and that was on November 10th, as did Cool G Rap and Pete Rock. They hit us new ones with that day. You had the Ghetto Boys on November 17th with Ice Cube and Method Man. So Ghetto Boys was Da Good, Da Bad, Da Ugly. Ice Cube was War and Peace Volume 1, the War Disc. And then Method Man 2000. We just, I think, celebrated this anniversary on, of course, the 17th of November. Tekal 2000, Judgment Day. November 24th, Bone Thugs and Harmony, The Collection Volume 1. Same day, you had RZA, Bobby Digital, and Stereo. Next, you had Steady Mobbin', Black Mafia the same day. And then you had Tupac, Greatest Hits, which this one was a double disc. Track, or disc 1, ended with track 12, which was Hit 'Em Up with Outlaws. And then the second disc ends with Hearts of Ben. That was from All Eyes on Me. Really good album that they put out. It was pretty smart in terms of the timing, a lot of the good tracks on it. And I think there were only a couple unreleased at the time. There was God Bless the Dead featuring Stretch. That was track 4 on the first album. You had Unconditional Love, track 9. That was previously unreleased. You had Troublesome 96. You had Changes, which was a huge hit. That was previously unreleased. So a real good compilation double disc there from the Tupac camp. You had Busta Rhymes December 8th with ELE, Extinction Level Event, The Final World Front. That's a damn long title album. Redman, same day, Doc's Da Name 2000. DJ Clue hit us with a classic, The Professional. Really good one here. I have this album as well, and there's a couple good tracks that I always like to go back and listen to on it. And that was it. I mean, damn, what a mouthful. So I covered, for those that stuck around and listened, I had Doggystyle, boom, classic, cannot go wrong, beginning to end. 97, 98, hit us with a lot of heat. And next up, not today, in a future episode, in about a week, I'll hit you with 1999, year in review, and we'll keep plugging away. So I appreciate you guys listening to Biggity Mike the Mayor and I as we went through some of the scene updates, and then, of course, me hitting on one of my favorite subjects, hip-hop. So I just want to say I appreciate everyone out there. We're going to roll out with some Snoop Diggity Dogg, Doggy Dog. Peace out, y'all. Late.
Let the motion of your body be the key, cause we be the motherfucking G-Funk family. Now I'll play the G in this deadly game. Snoop Dogg is the name, dog pounds the game. If it ain't one thing, it's the motherfucking other. Word to my granny and my daddy and my mother. Whether standing on the corner or bouncing in a 6 deuce. When I was locked up, I couldn't wait to get loose. Cause back in the days, on the side where it's at, a nigga had to have a fat stack, and I was a fool. Don't make me have to grab my strap and go rat-tat-tat. tat tat, nigga. Slap to a motherfucker, face he fall. Can't none of y'all niggas see the doggy dog. Cause I'm one rude boy coming with the wickedness. So shut the fuck up and listen while I'm kicking it. Block blam, blam to them all. Listen to them shots from my nigga doggy dog. Block blam, blam to them all. Listen to them shots from my nigga doggy dog. Now you can look to the sun and spot the moon and see Snoop Doggy Dogg step into the room with the G-Funk, E-Funk, G-Funk, we-Funk. Follow me, listen to the words that a nigga. I come down with the wickedness. One rude boy coming with the dopeness. Close your eyes, cause you can't see me. I quit school cause of recess, you fucking BG. I'm shaking up the party like Lordy Dordy. Is he the dopest? You better ask somebody. When, then, send some gin and a pack of zigzag. Now let the games begin. In 1993, I'm fucking up every nigga known in the industry. Check this out, it's a dog pound thing. You know who I am, you know my motherfucking name. Who am I?
The S-N-double-O-P.
Nickname,
Silky Slim.
last name,
Dino Double J.
the behavior and the flavor that I found